Bye BFG KO2s because you're a bloody rip-off. Yep, we've got them on the Hilux. They're not that old and they've already got us out of trouble once. And I'll tell you what, they've always looked after us. But you're a bloody rip-off. We've used these tyres and stuck up for them for years. And we've got a lot of experience with them. And we've been supporting them and showing you the truth about them for some time now, including these are like new still at 22,000 kilometres. They've got maximum 1 millimetre of wear. There's the back one. Very reliable in the outback. We never have any problems with tyres, any punches. Times it by 10 because we're usually in a convoy, whether it's a day trip or a outback trip. There's usually a number of other vehicles involved. All the talk about them being crap since they went to being made in Thailand. All the rubbish rumours that say, oh, 30,000 Ks and they're gone. As demonstrated, that's absolute rubbish as far as I'm concerned. But what I don't like is what I said at the start, the price. They're an absolute rip-off. So we're going to go rip-off. Yes, we can't say some things clearly. Rip-off. Okay, so we're going to go through a few options. So look, we don't have a problem with the tyres as such. We know a lot of people do, and it's fair enough. Everybody's got their own experiences. It seems to be the majority of people that have them like them. They've got no issues with them. Perhaps some people that really give them a hard time in the wet or on the road or whatever. Look, you know, if you push it anything hard enough, of course, it's going to be one of the tyres that lets go first, because quite clearly it's more of an off-road orientated grip tread pattern rather than an on-road grip tread pattern. So it all depends on your use, but we're not going to go into that. We've been in and out of all of that with all our other videos. This sort of tyre certainly suits our needs because we need a grippy off-road tyre and we need a reliable tyre for the outback tracks. You can see this set of wheels just recently went up a track and you can see all the scratches. They're alloy rims, they're Prado alloy rims that have been painted, and a lot of rock scrapage, and there's no damage on the outside of any of the sidewalls, inside or out. And it's the same. We run them on 3 vehicles, 2 Prados and a Hilux, and they are very, I'm not saying you can't get a cut and it can't happen, but they're very successful. We use them quite aggressively. So we don't have, I want to be clear, we don't have a problem with the tyre themselves. It's a problem with the price. My experience has shown they've gone up about 25% over the last year or two, and they're just certainly not worth that much. There's lots of other options out there you can try, and these obviously probably don't suit a lot of people's needs. So when they're around $400 a tyre, I've got a guy that he looks after me, that's for sure. And if I'm getting quoted about $400 a tyre, I'm sure some people are going to be paying $450 and even more. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's plenty of tyres out there for around the $200 to $300 mark. I just had a quick search myself, you know, some internet searches, 265, 65, 17. Jack's Tyres have got some specials on at the moment. You can get if you do a lot of on-road, and you certainly get a much better, nicer to drive on the road, quieter, smoother. Look, these are quiet, but over the life of the tyre, quieter, smoother, better fuel economy, and obviously definitely safer in the wet if you're not going off-road that much. It all depends what you're using the vehicle for. So yeah, we've used the Grand Trek AT3Gs. They are very good on the road and in the wet. We use them off-road fair bit as well. They work perfectly well in the dry, but when you get to the really rough stuff, the sidewalls are prone to damage like other tyres similar to it. There was another one, I think it was called a Grand Trek 5G or something like that. I think they were worked out, because they had them for $279 and it was get the 4th one free, worked out to be $209 a tyre. Absolute bargain, get all over it. And that included fitting and balancing. There were some other tyres, I think it was some sort of Dynapro or something. Once again, $280 something, get the 4th one free. It worked out to be $213 per tyre. Absolute bargain. You can buy 2 of those for every one of these, and that's my point, okay? Now for quality, we know we've got to pay more, and paying $300 is paying more. Paying $320 is paying more. Paying $350 is paying more. But to be quite honest, that's my limit, okay? I'm not going to pay more than $350 for one of these tyres. I'm going to go and try other tyres for $200 each, right? I'll wait for a special, get the 4th one free. I'll have a look at the tread pattern. I'll make a decision, check some reviews, talk to some people, use our Facebook groups, YouTube channels, look at the comments, whatever, and see what everybody thinks. Now let's talk about the Wild Peaks for a minute. And I know there's a heap of people that love them, so I'm not here to upset anyone. I'm sure they're a great tyre on the road, okay? And I'll give you an example why I still say that again. I'm sure heaps of people use them off-road, and it was probably dry and smooth, and they worked really well. But what I'm talking about is when it's really rough stuff, or when it's wet and you need aggressive, grippy tyre where it's the tyre that matters. they don't do the job. They don't get the job done in comparable conditions on comparable cars anywhere near as good as this tyre. So I'll give you an example. Just recently, these tyres on a track, they did really well. They're only 31, standard size tyre. They did really well to get where they got to before we broke a CV due to the full extension lengths of the front suspension, the angles of the CVs. That's another video, that's another story. There was a 120 Prado there. You know, we use a 120 Prado as well, and we use it with BFGs, and we've been around these tracks and been doing it for years, and we know what it's capable of. And I saw the other 120 there, I saw it struggling. It was like it had no traction. I saw the wheels spinning. It just looked like road tires to me. I didn't really know what they were. I wrote them off. I went, oh yeah, crap tires, you need to get some tires. I didn't say that, I'm just thinking that to myself, going, you know, good fun, hey, have some fun, but they're not grippy tires, okay? There's no aggression, there's no grip there whatsoever. And then just recently on a post on Oz Prado Crew, he's put up that they were the Wild Peaks. So there you go. That confirms my suspicion. Looking at that tread pattern, it never looked aggressive, that it's going to be a really grippy off-road tread pattern. I'm sure it's a great tyre. It's definitely better value for money. People love them on the road. They even go on sand, they're going to love them, and on dry conditions, on relatively smooth or a little bit rough every now and then, they're going to do the job 99.9% of the time. But when you've just got that little bit of, you need that extra bite to get some traction, that's where tyres like this come in. So you've got to decide whether you want to pay the penalty, the massive tax to get the BFGs at $400 or more each, or whether you're just going to pay $280 and get the Wild Peaks, or whether you're going to pay something else. I would suggest that you shouldn't need to pay any of these expensive brands. I'm not going to bother naming the other expensive ones. You can figure out what they are. All these tyres that are $350, $380, $400, $450 each, I say tell them they're dreaming, walk away, go get a better value for money tyre. You get these El Cheapo tyres even. You know, if you're not going off-road, cheap tyres generally do the job. Drive within the vehicle and your driving capabilities. There's not a tyre that you can really buy that's absolute rubbish. Now, if you're a driver that really asks too much of the tyres, you know, go and get some Yokohamas or something like that. They're a good race car, on-road, you know, blacktop type tyre, and you can get an all-terrain version that's, you know, decent enough for off-road as well. So anyway, I just thought I'd put it out there. We're not going to be buying the KO2s anymore. I have done a lot of research on tyres over the years. I've seen a lot of tyres on the tracks. We used to run trips and be on trips with groups of at least 10 people, quite often more, and they weren't all Prados or Hiluxes. But I'll tell you a couple of things, right? It doesn't matter what make or model of vehicle it was. It seemed to be the vehicles with the KOs or the KMs were always there was some other good tyres there as well, but not that many of them. But when you saw something do really well and you went, wow, that did well, and it didn't matter if it was an 80 series, a 90 series, a 200 series, you go, wow, that did it easy on the same, you know, we've got 10 cars on the same hill, and maybe we've been there 10 different day trips, a whole heap of data. You go, wow, that did it well. And every time you look at those tyres, you see a nice aggressive tyre like this, or a KM, or perhaps a Cooper ST, you know, the one with the 2 Ts, or whatever it is. The more aggressive type tyres are the ones that get the grip and pull the vehicle up the hill. And when you see them just struggling, you see all these variations of a road type tyre tread. I hope most people get to know what I mean. Like I said, I'm not here to bag out the Wild Peaks or whatever, but I'll tell you what, a couple of tyres that I noticed that I like the look of, and a few people have used them and they seem very happy with them, including one experienced off-roader that sort of really respect what he says, and if he believes they're good, then I'd say that's probably what it is. And they're the Nittos, right? The Nitto, I think there's a Ridge Grappler and a Trail Grappler. I'll get it mixed up which one's which. One's like one of the all-terrain versions, and one's more of a sort of getting more heavy duty. But I remember doing my research when looking to purchase tyres for this vehicle right here. I looked at those, I seriously contemplated those, and in the end, you know what I did? I went, oh man, Anthony, just stick with what you know. Because you know what? We know these tyres well. We've been using them for, we'll say decades. A lot of people have been using them for many, many, many decades. Personally, you know, we have tried a lot of other tyres, so we'll say we've done hundreds of thousands of kilometres on these tyres, a number of different sets, and we have never, let me just get this right, I shouldn't say never had a puncher, never had a natural puncher from a stick or a rock or anything like that on the tracks, or any outback rocks or anything like that. We've never ever had a puncher. The punches we've had we had one a nail through the track on billy goats. A nail went straight through the treads into the sidewall. So you probably saw that one. If you watched this long into a video, you probably saw that one. I call that unnatural. You can't count that, okay? Nails on tracks, that's ridiculous, okay? That's booby trapped. And the other one was it was an old thread tap that we picked up at Mount Ive in South Australia, and we did a plug repair with that, and as far as I know, it's still going today. So once again, not a natural nature. So you put these tyres into nature, they're bloody reliable, they're bloody grippy, and I absolutely love them, and that's why I suppose I stick up with them. They last well, they wear well, they're quiet, so they're great tyres. I'm not trying to sell you these tyres or not. I know if shares in BFG doesn't make any difference to me. I'm trying to save you some money. I'm not saying they last a super long time, but they certainly don't wear out. You know, they reduced the tread depth a few years ago. I can't remember what year it was, so I'll just say a few years ago. They used to be about 12 mil. 11.8 was my best measurement, but I believe about 12 mil tread depth. And in recent years, they're all 10 mil, okay? Brand new tyre, 10 mil. So they're like a packet of chips or a block of chocolate or whatever, where the price goes up. I'll just tell you another little secret. You know, the Smith's chips, you know, the old, what's the saying? The best, the original and the best? Yeah, well, they are, right? And you can argue that one if you like, but my point is, Coles, Woolworths, whatever, half price, $1.87, right? You know what I'm talking about? Well, half price now is $2.15. So I understand we've got record inflation. I understand why. You might want to subscribe, turn the bell on, and watch all the videos to the end to listen carefully, because it's going to sneak a bit of secret information into the videos using some code words, explaining for the people that don't know. Because when you, this is the thing, when you help people save money and stop getting ripped off on all these big things, all these big organisations, they're all connected. That's all I'm going to say, and they don't like it. They don't share. They don't like it. You know, it doesn't help. Let's just say it doesn't help. It doesn't help my cause. It doesn't help the channel, right, grow when you help people save money and say, don't buy these rip-off tyres. Go buy this cheap. You know, get the Dunlop. Like I said, the 5Gs, whatever. Worked at $209 high. It's a no-brainer, mate. You're getting them half-price tyres. What, you rip a tyre open? It's unreal. Go get another one, because you just saved $800 on 4 tyres. You've got enough to buy another set. Hello, right? So the point is, that's where there's got to be a limit. And as much as these look good and they're tough and reliable, I will not be paying more than $350 a tyre, and that was a stretch. Personally, I reckon they're worth $295. There you go. $295 AUD is what they're worth. That's all they're worth. And if you can get other good tyres for $250 and $230 and $260 and all that, I say go get them. I'm no longer supporting the KO2 thing when these tyres are worn out. They're worn out, and you'll see what I get then. But for my off-road, whatever vehicle I'm using where I want maximum grip, I'll be looking at those Nitto trail grapplers or ridge grapplers. Feel free to put some comments on the YouTube comments here so people can see, and for myself for some feedback on those. And for the on-road purposes, for the touring and that sort of thing, it might be a set of Falcon Wild Peaks, because they certainly look very real. I haven't heard from a lot of people are using them, and I haven't heard of any punches or problems or anything like that. I haven't seen them on trips and tracks falling apart, getting punches, prone to damage or anything like that. So I think for somebody that does mainly on road, a lot of touring, I think they'll be fine for that. And with a bit of track work, I think they'll be fine. It's just, you know, when you're absolutely pushing the limits and you need traction, that's where you need to, you know, whether it's the BFG KM3s or whatever, those more aggressive. And look, I'm not a massive fan of mud tyres. I'll sort of quickly just tell you why, because it's not about mud. You're not in mud. Sometimes it might be wet and muddy, but this sort of grippy tread pattern, it wraps around rocks and things, and it really gets some grip. Where mud tyres, they're more open. There's not as much rubber there to get grip. They're good for in mud, like a tractor tyre. You know, it's going across a paddock in the mud, and you really need some big grippy things with some big spaces in between. That's mud tyres. So if you're playing in the mud on the sloppy stuff in the bottom of the hills, then you go get some mud tyres. But for hills themselves, although those tyres will also do okay, it's a really good all-terrain, like grippy tread pattern like this that works the best to get grip and wrap around all those rocks and get some traction, because there's still actually, look at the amount of rubber that's there and the gaps in between. So it's increased, and it's a different pattern compared to a road tyre. Anyway, I'm not here to sell you tyres. I'm here to tell you, I believe the KO2s are a rip-off. I'm not paying that much, and for your own wallet, I hope you don't either. Seriously consider some other tyres, because there's plenty out there that are cheaper. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked it. Bada bing, bada boom. We've got them on all 3 of our vehicles. They're all fairly fresh. They're going to last this year, so you're not going to see us buying tyres anytime soon, unless I suppose we have tyre damage on at least a couple. Then we'll condense tyres from other vehicles to 2 vehicles and get a fresh set for whichever vehicle. I don't know yet, whatever. I'm just speculating here. Thanks for watching. I hope you get it. You may have noticed in my videos recently, I'm more focused towards trying to help people save money because there's a lot of things you don't need. We've always been that way, but I'm trying to focus more on just think about some of the things you do and don't need and how much you're going to pay for them. And so you don't get yourself ripped off. Bada bing. Catch you on the next one, guys. See ya.